All right, hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about AI and how small businesses can use it to help with their sales and marketing. And going to start with Ken here because AI is really just another tool, and I think a lot of times people forget that. So, Ken, first of all, let's talk about what is AI and what is it not, and what are some things people need to remember when implementing AI.
Yeah. So, I mean, AI is really just a super smart computer that has been trained to learn and think like a human. So, it's fed massive amounts of data, but it's a copy of old information. And that's what's important for people to realize is that, it can only be trained based on the data and sets that are provided to it. Data by default is old once it's created. It's no longer, I mean, it may or may not be in date, up to date. So, from that perspective, AI is always going to have some limitations. And so, if the nature of your business is such that you need to have very up to date recent data, then AI is going to have some limitations potentially for you. It's not to say that it doesn't have a massive value because it does, but if you're in a world where like in the world of marketing, we know that there are several things that are just good best practices that have been true. Let's just take SEO for example. Over the last 15 or 20 years. We also know that there are some really bad practices that were in SEO. And so those have probably been pretty well defined. And so AI is going to be able to, give you good guidance potentially on a topic like that because it doesn't change very rapidly. Now, the algorithms that deliver the search results, those change all the time. And there are tweaks, and there are probably things that happen on major shifts, somewhat major shifts maybe happen on a quarterly basis, but not like on a day to day or even moment by moment basis, like, in the world of healthcare, for example, where there may be just changes happening at a very rapid pace. So AI for marketing purposes is really, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can use it, ranging from, figuring out who your ideal customers are, what they like, writing ad copy, developing draft messages to send either an email or text, and automate boring tasks or tasks that maybe they're not boring, but maybe they're not really value add. I mean, if it's a redundant task and you can train AI to do it, then there's usually a productivity gain there. Um, a caveat I do want to point out is that you should not share sensitive information with ChatGPT. You shouldn't put anything in there that because it may use that to train its models. And so if you're putting proprietary information into ChatGPT, it's not private. It could be used by them. So you have to be very careful. There are measures that you can take to protect that, but most small businesses aren't even thinking about anything like that. Um, I really see AI as a tool, not a replacement. For example, for us, we're seeing it as a way to get customers to book faster because it can have conversations either through voice mechanisms or through chat feature type mechanisms. um, in the world of SEO, we see it helping us identify problem issues faster, maybe giving us a good decent set of recommendations, but they're not the final recommendations that should be implemented just without scrutiny and review of a human expert. So, I constantly hear from people, why am I paying you guys to do this when I can plug in a topic in Chat GPT and it'll generate a blog post for me in a matter of seconds? And it's like, great. That has no unique value. It has no differentiation. I mean, you can train it to become a better producer of that content, still requires human review because it's not going to be 100% accurate all the time. And certainly, for most small businesses, they're not. I mean, part of the reason we write blog posts and we're huge fans of blogging and written content in general is because you can bake in search engine optimization if you know what you're doing as you're writing that content. You write it for search engines, but you always also write it for humans. And if you just take what AI spits out, it doesn't sound like a human always. I mean, firstly, secondly, thirdly, when it introduces that kind of language, that's not how most normal people talk. So they're it's not just set it and forget it, which is another thing that I think a lot of people think. They hook up an AI tool to do a function for them and they think it's just all good and they'll never have to go in and touch it and mess with it. That happens with chatbots and voice agents and search engine optimization. I mean, whatever you're using AI for, it's going to give you bad information from time to time. You can't just set it and forget it. And unfortunately, Ian, I'm sure you come across this as well. We run across competitors all the time that are talking about all this stuff being set it and forget it. And they're trying to get business at a lower price because they don't know what the hell they're doing and they don't know what they're talking about. But it's pretty easy to seduce people with the technology, and it's pretty easy to run a demo to show them a cool result from AI. So my recommendation to our listeners is don't fall for that. It's not that simple. If it was, you wouldn't have a job. None of us would. So just be aware of that. The quality of the data that you input into the prompts matters tremendously. You can get a lot of great results, but look, they call it Chat GPT for a reason. It's a conversation. You're having a dialogue. If you just put in a single prompt and take what it spits out, and you don't have that conversation to refine it, tweak it, modify it, you're gonna get vanilla, bland results. That's certainly not going to help you from a search ranking perspective, and it's not going to differentiate you at all, and it may not even be accurate. So be careful with that. For me, I stress, and this is a very gray area, and I'm not an attorney and I'm not providing legal advice, but I still think there are a lot of ethical and legal considerations around the use of AI. I think you need to be very careful with it. You can put in prompts to, write a response that sounds like John Jansch or Donald Miller from StoryBrand, and it'll do a pretty good job of using language that makes it sound like it's something that they've written. A lot of people might take that and make it sound like, it's something that he said, or they'll use it and claim it as their own. And really, there are a lot of gray areas around this, but I just think the best thing to do is be respectful of other people's contributions. Use it as we have for a very long time, where you reference the sources, you don't steal them. And so that's just my caveat there. Yeah, and really just the last point is, again, it is not 100% accurate. It's not even close. You may get 100% accurate results occasionally when you plug in a prompt, even a simple prompt, but I think you're really playing with fire if you're expecting AI to generate 100% accurate results and never scrutinize the output.
Yeah, and just something that added, AI is far from 100% accurate. And if AI has been around for a while, it's not exactly new, but the way it is being used and implemented recently is new. And in building out some AI chatbots, it can just completely go off the rails. I mean, bad. It'll just come. You can ask it something, and it'll come back with something that is completely irrelevant. And so it's being AI has been around for a long time, but it's being implemented in a way that it has not been implemented before. And I think everyone needs to be aware of that. Ian, do you have anything to add to that? I think you're muted, Ian.
You are muted. You're probably telling the best joke ever, but we can't hear it.
I even gave you a compliment, Ken.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, my dogs were barking, so I muted myself. So, yeah, I was just saying I agree with everything you said, Ken, which is unusual. But yeah, one thing I was going to mention this in my segment, but I think it fits better in this one, that people are so excited about AI because it offers this reward of free or cheap content creation that has traditionally been very expensive, right? And free and cheap, almost a democratization of expertise, so to speak. And as you've explained, it's a tool. It's not really there. You actually need an expert to handle the tool well. But one of the things I've seen, which I think is such a gap in people's mindset related to AI, is that if you're not currently doing something in your business, meaning you are working at a higher level because you're the owner or managing it, or business development, and all of a sudden you have at your disposal something that can help you do something that you weren't doing before, the chances are good, meaning like content creation, the chances are good that you shouldn't be doing that now either, even with the help of AI, right? You're actually making yourself work more and harder, which is a horrible plan. So I've actually seen businesses go down this path where, we had a small client at one point, they were like, I think we're going to do all our own blog posts and all our own SEO and everything because AI is going to help us do this. I was just looking up their rankings recently and it hasn't helped them, right? Like it's because, content creation at its core is not about just creating content for content's sake. It's about strategically doing it, right? And
Right.
yes, you can ask an AI bot, what are the best strategies for me? But it only has a certain amount of data. It won't understand your whole competitive set. It won't be able to bring the expertise that a marketer can bring to the table. So I just caution people, like, if you're enticed to play with AI, then do it. It is so much fun. It's really cool to watch it evolve quickly, but don't give yourself more work. That's just foolishness, right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Good points. So, Ian, what are some of the opportunities with AI, and can you kind of just explain the good and bad of what they are?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start with ideation because ideation and brainstorming is where AI for me started. So I started using ChatGPT and some of the other AI tools out there years before it became like publicly big, and I think you guys did too. We who were in the industry had kind of tickets to get in and play with it because they wanted experts to play with it in order to help it evolve more quickly, right? And one of the things that I've always found really valuable is this ideation and brainstorming, because you can bring to the table something to the chatbot. So, for example, you say I've developed an SEO strategy for a client. I have a whole bunch of inputs into that, meaning I know who their strategic competitors are. I've done a keyword gap analysis, all of these things that ChatGPT or some of the other tools can't do. And then I can come and say, okay, here's the 5 SEO ranking gaps that this particular client has, and I need to create content around that. Here are my initial ideas. And again, as you said, Ken, like if you give an exhaustive, detailed, directionally correct prompt, you're going to get far better results. And so if, say, I feed in this prompt and I say, here are my ideas. Give me 30 more topical ideas related to these 5 topics. Put it in a table, number them, Tell me why this is a good choice. Like, you can go into exhaustive detail about what the chatbot should be feeding back to you, right? And from that process, because I'm an expert in that field, just like our listeners are experts in their fields, I get a ton of information back, a ton of ideas, and I can pick and choose and go, okay, out of these 30, 20 of them are crap, or 20 of them are mediocre, because I actually do find there's a lot of mediocrity that comes out of the chatbots. And if you want mediocre results, then take those and run with them. But if you want good results, pick and choose the ones that are really good.
Yeah. Ian, if I could kind of just jump in there real quick on the whole ideation.
Yeah.
So I'm board president of the Modern American Dance Company, and we had to rewrite our strategic plan. And so I developed, probably 3 long paragraph prompt to put into Chat GPT to give me a structure of a strategic plan. And it did a fantastic job of organizing that and structuring it. And then what the end result was, we were able to take that to our planning meeting, where we had been kind of circling around this topic for a while, struggling to kind of get movement on it. And we're able to use this document and finalize the strategic plan within an hour and a half meeting, because it did give us a good structure. It gave us key topics to talk about so that we could finalize the language. But the key thing is, humans had to come together to finalize this thing.
Yeah. I would say, just as a generalization, anything we use AI for, we, bar none, we always have a human perfect it or bring it to a better level.
Yeah.
But my quotient, or my percentage of, if I were just to take a stab at it, like anything we use AI for, nothing is ever close to 100%. It's probably between 60 and 85%. Sometimes you hit like a home run and it's 85% the way there. Otherwise, like you still have a lot of work to do. So, and the other part I would stress too, just from what you were talking about there, Ken, is, and it goes back to the previous points you were talking about, is that if you don't understand what you're trying to accomplish well enough, because you're a layperson in marketing and you're asking ChatGPT for an answer to something or a solution to something, or, tell me what I should be doing in this case, you're the only check and balance in that whole process. Whereas with us, just like if I were to say, hey, I have a toothache, ChatGPT, what are the potential causes and how can I fix this myself? Right? Like, it's going to give me some answers.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will also put in like a disclaimer saying, you should not perform any health things from our results. But what I'm trying to show is that a dentist who did the same thing would be able to very quickly scan those things and go, bad idea, bad idea, bad idea, bad idea. It's probably one of these 2 ideas. But without that expertise, a layperson is just guessing and just going personal biases. And that's never a good thing, right? So yeah, from an ideation, brainstorming standpoint, huge opportunity for anybody. For all walks of life, for your business, for your professional development, for how to handle tough employees, how to write an email, right? I have this circumstance. I have a client that wants to leave, give me 3 different options for an email, but be sure to give it lots of context, and you'll get some good ideas out of that process.
Yeah.
SEO. We are all very deep in SEO as marketing guides. And I would just say we've kind of covered off some scenarios already related to SEO. I would say that kind of stuff doesn't really get me excited anymore. Like the content creation through Chat GPT and some of the other stuff, it's not there yet. It doesn't have enough context. But what really gets me excited is AI built into the tools, the expert tools that we use. So, for example, we all use tools to help us do analysis of existing search engine results for our clients and our competitors, right? Because we want to determine how best can I take my client who's here today and my competitors who are against them, because you never exist in a vacuum, and how can I very quickly move them up in rankings? And so these tools give me the data I need as an expert to make those decisions. And we've all been using these tools for 15, 20 years. The tools have evolved, they've gotten better. Now they've put AI in these tools, which provides us as experts an extreme amount of intelligence, meaning it can help us far quicker get to the end result that we're after, because it helps fill in some of the data gaps. AI is extremely good at taking large amounts of data and coming up with consolidations of, like, here's this big bundle all of this data into 3 buckets and tell me, what the results are. It can do that very, very well, far faster than humans can. But we need to take that and we need to then implement it. Some of the SEO tools we use, which are not cheap, right? We pay a lot of money for them, can also help us do some of the implementation, which is fairly new, still, highly untested. But I think it makes us pretty excited because it gives us some efficiencies.
Yeah. Which I want to point out, there are efficiencies, but I don't know about you, Ian. I assume you're the same way. We get to things faster because of the AI. We find problems faster because of the AI diagnostics. We may implement some solutions a little bit faster because some of the recommendations that it provides, and while they're not perfect, it eliminates the analysis paralysis or just that complete fresh restart that you have to work on. So because it gives you a starting point. We're actually using it to go beyond what we've been able to do before within this, within the pricing and the scope of our agreements, because we have those efficiencies. And so a lot of people are like, well, why am I paying you all this money now? Because AI can, and it's like, because it gives us the ability actually to supercharge what we've been doing in the past from what we've been able to do in the past.
Yeah. 100% agree. And I would say that, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, at the end of the day, in the case of SEO, you're paying to rank. I mean, whatever strategy, whoever is doing the SEO work that you're paying, the whole purpose of that is that you're trying to rank and outrank your competitors. It doesn't, the level of effort that's required these days to do that is greater than it's ever been. So it's like, it's crazy to think that AI always should equal cost reduction.
Right. Well, and it's kind of a misnomer too, that any business should only be compensated for the amount of time they spend doing something. Like that's not true in almost any industry, that the people with the greater expertise get paid more because they can solve the problem better, faster, less downtime.
Yeah.
What Paul asked me to talk about kind of the good and the bad. I would just say the bad part of this is that because of the proliferation and the sexiness, for lack of a better term, of AI right now, like, so many people have gotten lured into this and spend enormous amounts of effort, time, energy, whether it's the top level owner or whether it's the receptionist or secretary or whoever, because I've seen it kind of play out in multiple scenarios. First of all, is it getting the result they want? Usually the answer is no. And has it distracted them from their primary roles? And the answer is yes. And neither of those things are good. And then the third one I mentioned earlier was just like what it's doing, because AI has proliferated so fast and people are so excited about it and the potential, like, hey, I don't need to pay a marketing expert anymore. I can do it myself. My secretary can do it for me. Is that there's this swamp of mediocrity, swamp of mediocre content that has just, like, it's growing, it's rising. and so there's an opportunity there that exists for the businesses. And this has always been true. This is not new. There's just more mediocre content now because it's easier to produce. But
Right.
the foundational elements are always, or have always, proven true. And that's implement SEO best practices, create great content, create it consistently, and have an expert do it for you. And with AI now, and that's an unbeatable team.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
So content writing, that's a huge element. A lot of people are using this. Even some of our, we do content writing in house. We also working with a content writing partner for, man, probably 5 years. Like, we love the content these guys produce. They're people that produce it. They're expert writers. They can write, like, I'm a good writer, but man, it takes me a long time. So I'm not a writer by trade, right? So it takes enormous amounts of energy, time, which is ultimately cost to my business. And so I have other people that are really good writers do the work. What's interesting is, even there, it's a good model where they were like, well, if we can't beat it, let's join it. So they've actually introduced AI written, human edited content as part of their service offering now, which I think is an interesting model where, because we do some of that in-house as well. So again, it's the experts leveraging AI to produce good content. Another neat area where AI is just exploding is, and most people know about this one, but image generation and video generation. Video generation is just now starting to get prime time. Image generation has been there for a while, but it's really funky. I'm sure you guys have had lots of interesting experiences. In fact, I was just on a webinar, a conference yesterday, and I missed the beginning of it. So I don't know if the head speaker, the keynote, mentioned a disclaimer saying, hey, there's going to be typos all through my presentation because I used AI for the images. But AI image generation, it can create some really cool imagery very fast. Again, it's the ideation process that if you say, hey, I want an image about, it could be anything. I want an image, I was doing a presentation once, and it was related to exterior remodeling. And I wanted the image of a senior falling off a ladder, right? Because this particular company offers gutter leaf cleaning, right? And so one of the most, the things that seniors really are worried about is, I climb a ladder, I'm cleaning out my leaves, I fall off the ladder, I'm ruined, right? And that's a fair fear. And so, I asked for that, and it probably took about 10 iterations to get the image right, because, the ladder had multiple ladders mixed together geometrically. The person's leg was missing, like all sorts of weird things.
Yeah.
But finally I got one, and I had to keep massaging it. And would it have been faster to see if I could find a stock native, because it took so freaking long to do this. But image generation is very cool. Watch out for text in the image, because it's notorious. The AI is notorious for bad typos in your text. Again, it probably gets you like 70 to 85% there, and then you have to massage it usually to get it across the finish line.
Yeah.
And it's improving.
Yeah.
Video is actually an area that I've been spending a lot of time in, because video is the hardest form of content to produce for most businesses. It's time consuming. It takes somebody that's confident in front of the camera. If you're just doing like B-roll stitching and stuff like that, it takes a lot of work, right? The editing is onerous from a marketing standpoint, like a marketing team standpoint. So it's tough to get good video. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is just some of the advances that they've made, where you can now, with some of the tools out there, again, it's a tool that's custom designed to get the result you want, but and it's made for marketers and agencies. But I can they just launched a little while ago where I can upload a PDF. So I have a CPA as a client. We've done multiple lead magnets for them, and one of them is how to optimize for profitability, right? Using accounting stuff. That's my technical term for it.
There we
I'm
go.
a marketer, not an accountant.
Right.
So we were able to upload that PDF, give it instructions and say, hey, this is the type of video we want. This is the length of the video we want. This is the call to action at the end. We wanted to give an overview of the video. We were able to choose an avatar of somebody that was very appealing, who's a real actor. And we were able to choose a voice and a language. And it chugged away for a while. It took some time. It gave us a script. It gave us a rough video. We were able to edit the script. We were able to massage the video. We were able to put like a bumper in at the end, which was, logo call to action. At the front, we were able to put a logo call to action or logo intro. And it was a finished product faster than we've ever been able to produce a video. Client loved it. You can now take your own videos, like we do podcasts all the time. I do webinars all the time. And you can take that and you can create your own custom avatar now. Kind of freaky. I haven't done it. Makes me squeamish. But it's pretty cool stuff. Again, we're spending time on it because we see the value of it, that we can help our clients and we can upsell this as a service.
Yeah.
For the average business, you're going to spend enormous amounts of time learning the tool, knowing what you should actually do a video on that's going to have impact in your marketplace, producing it, editing it, publishing it. So again, makes more sense to have the experts do it than that. So that's kind of the good thing. Creating video content is getting faster. You can do talking avatars that are good, like they're not glitchy. They're not, I don't know if you remember Max Headroom from the 80s, but
yeah.
But the bad news is that the chance for fakes, right? Fake video, hugely gone up. Intonation. So this is both for video and audio. The intonation is really bad. Like they haven't perfected, like, make the person excitable. Like my voice is going up and down. Your voice is going up and down because we get enthusiastic. Right now, it's even if you choose an enthusiastic avatar, it's not really there. It's kind of robotic. The energy isn't there. So those are just a few things. I mean, there's a ton of other things we could talk about, like AI bots. The other one I do want to add, though, that's getting me really excited is it could be called an AI assistant, an AI employee, an AI automated call center. Because I see a huge need. Like we have clients who pay a lot of money to have after hours call centers answer their phones. And because we do call tracking for them, because of the various marketing strategies we're doing, we want to measure it. Like the quality of call centers today, especially the cheap ones, are absolute disasters.
Yeah.
And most businesses don't audit the quality. So part of why we do what we do is we're able to go back to our clients and say, hey, we've been generating all these leads for you. They've been resulting in after hours call. Those leads aren't converting because your call center is disastrous. When people ask, are you accepting new patients or are you accepting new clients? They're like, oh, I don't really know, but I'll have them call you back. Like,
yeah,
what kind of stupid is that, right? Like,
yeah.
So you can train an AI chatbot or automated call center basically to accept the call, to answer questions. And this is live, it's instantaneous, it's responsive.
Yeah.
You can populate it and train it with answers to common questions, and you can have it guide people through the process of booking an appointment. Like it is very cool. It will save you money, but more important to that, it will help you not lose leads anymore.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You want cheap, you'll get cheap.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, is so even if, like we have features, through the CRM tool that we use, I know you use and Jeff uses, Ian, that basically if you miss a phone call, you can send a text right back. to the
Yeah.
person calling. But the reality is, most people are no longer leaving voicemail messages if they get into your voicemail. And so the importance of having a live agent answering your phone is probably never been higher. Now, the number of phone calls, I mean, some people are perfectly comfortable communicating with the chat bot and getting what they need that way. But other people are going to want to do that by phone. And so not only is it, the cost savings, like you said, is tremendous, the quality of the responses is going to be dramatically better. This thing can be educated and trained, and it sticks, as opposed to, call center staff. They change. They're not the same people from one shift to the next. So they're not going to give you that consistency over time, in regard to answering questions about your business. So between the fact that people aren't leaving voice messages anymore, the fact that the call centers aren't always the best solution in terms of answering correctly for your business, we've seen it as well. It's like, oh, well, I'll have to take your information and have them call you back on Monday. And it's like it's emergency plumbing service kind of issue. It's
Right.
like, that's not good. And so, and then, really just being able to go in there and consistently add and update information as it changes relative to your business, and not have to spend massive amounts of time training people, variety of people. These things are huge. And, people are like, we've got a couple of customers we've talked to, and they're like, yeah, I don't think my customers are going to want to talk to an AI. And it's like, well, they've been talking to an automated phone system for years, which is just a recording with a tree structure, a logical tree structure. They don't freak out about that, and if you really are concerned about that, if you feel like you have a group of people who are very cautious about talking to AI, the AI can identify itself. Hey, you've reached the AI agent for such and such business. How can I help you? If you would prefer to talk to a live human, press 1. And
They'll be back tomorrow when they wake up.
Yeah. So there's the AI phone systems and AI voice agents are incredibly powerful. And I think it's the hottest topic going right now, from a marketing perspective. It's a game changer.
Yeah. You know what gets me so excited about it too, Ken, is as a marketing agency, not many, but some of our clients have asked us to what's the right word? Like bookend the framing of their ad campaigns to only business hours, because they're like, I don't want to be paying for ads that are going to my voicemail or to my
Right.
crappy call center.
Right.
This, to me, is a game changer
Absolutely.
because it's not a call center that doesn't know the answers and is constantly changing. It's not a voicemail that can't do anything.
Right.
This is really, and imagine somebody that could answer the live questions people have within your constraints that you provide.
Right.
You don't want to be giving away like medical advice or anything like that as a dental clinic, but you can tell it not to do that, right?
Right. Exactly.
And imagine if you could say, are there any open appointments on this day between this and this, right? And can I book that? And the chat bot or the AI agent could actually do that for you. So not only have they taken a cold contact, turned them into a warm contact because they could answer the questions they had, but they could book an appointment.
Right. Right.
That's, to me, astounding because it's so new. Like, give us a year and it'll be old, but it's so cool.
Yeah, it is absolutely a game changer, and it just accelerates the process. I mean, we always talk about the buyer's journey, and having a facility like this where, unless they happen to reach the owner, or the subject matter expert on that phone call. And I would venture to say that those experts probably don't get to the booking any faster than the AI agent. And how many missed phone calls, are those experts, missing because of all of the other things that they have to do in their business.
And imagine this. I want people to imagine this. So we've talked about the scenario. You make a phone call to the auto mechanic. You first of all, hey, I got in an accident. I have some auto body issues, but also there's some mechanical issues I need taken care of. Can you do that? The AI agent could probably answer some of those questions. Probably not all of them, but answer some of them. And then it would try to book the appointment, right? Do you want an appointment? Yeah, like, of course I do. When's the soonest appointment I can get in? It would give them the options. They would book it. The coolest thing to me is that because this is integrated into a CRM and marketing automation system, first of all, that contact will be created in the CRM system. The transcript of the discussion will be there waiting for you in the morning. It can task you, like if just in your scenario, when you were saying, hey, it's an emergency, you could have the system flag it and send you a text or send your team a text that there's an emergency issue right now. And you could escalate that all through the CRM system. You could have a follow-up email go out to the person. There's so much you can do because of the integration with a CRM and marketing automation system that it's so amazing. Anyways, I know I get excited about this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that leads to, I know this is a topic that we're going to be talking about here, but, all of that just leads to speed of response. Speed of response, as we've said over and over and over again, it is, and we had Jay Baer on, and he proved, he provided key data to back up his findings, just how important being the first to respond is. And, statistics don't lie. And the other thing that Jay pointed out, which I think is really critical, and this should motivate every business on the planet, is that it takes price largely out of the equation. If you're first to respond, you're going to win the business the overwhelming majority of the time, irregardless of price. And that is just so important. And, so many small businesses, especially in a down economy, like we talked about last week, we were providing marketing ideas. You don't want to race to the bottom in terms of prices. You can't survive that. That's not a survivable model in a down economy or a stressed economy. And there's the new norm. People expect fast response. That's why they're turning to interacting with text widgets or chat widgets. That's why that's why people go to DoorDash and book an order online as opposed to calling a restaurant and going through a phone tree system. Well, guess what, restaurants? You can now create your own AI assistant and accelerate that process and make it a much better process. And DoorDash is great. Uber Eats is great. They take a healthy chunk. They provide some benefits because you're listed on their sites, which is great because you become discoverable when people are hungry and they're looking, and they'll go to those sites to look for restaurants that they can order from. But if you can build a loyal audience of people that can come and just buy directly from you, and and use the AI assistant that you create for your restaurant, for example, that's even better. And and responding quickly, instead of having people have to call 3 or 4 restaurants waiting to see what, if they get anybody to even answer the phone, is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. And people, we as business owners, we all need to understand that as generations become more adapted to AI being part of society, meaning AI chatbots, these AI agents, like the tools, like like I have no doubt that the younger generation right now would actually perceive this as an added value, because a lot of them don't want to, talk to a live person, but they're happy to talk to a robot, right? Because it's
Right.
funky, it's cool,
Right.
it's
I don't
high
want to talk
tech.
to a live person.
Yeah. You know what? Even the call transcript records show that people are actually having a little bit of fun with the AI.
Right.
They'll ask it a question just to see what response they get, and people are enjoying it. So right now, it's not only a massive efficiency of driving speed to lead to speed, whatever, getting your lead faster. It's saving you money, but it's also creating a novelty effect where people are actually enjoying using these.
Yeah. Your example, I had never thought of your example of a restaurant, because I don't think the technology is there yet. Seen it yet for like a complex order of food yet, but I'm sure it's only months away, right? Like it just makes sense. But man, like I think of some of my favorite restaurants in the area where the server, like it's a small restaurant, it's there's probably a cook or two, maybe two servers, one server, two servers, right? Like
Right.
they're answering the phone for takeout orders as well. Like
Yeah.
something, and they're stretched to the max, they're rushed on the phone, I just think there's huge opportunity there as the technology develops further. Pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few things I'd add, because people think that AI is a magic bullet that can solve all their problems, and
Right.
it's not. And a lot of times AI is implemented incorrectly. And use a live example. Facebook. I love Facebook because I hate them and they screw everything up. I'm a member of a Facebook group, and someone asked a question related to a CRM, and I think Ken knows where I'm going with this, that about how they did something, and someone responded saying, when you look at your steps in the workflow, there's an icon with a little person in there, and if you click on that, it'll open Facebook banned him from posting because he used the term little person. And you would think that a company like
Rather
Facebook,
than an avatar or something like that.
Yeah, you would think Facebook would be able to look at the context in which he was using that.
Yeah.
Apparently, they can't. But the biggest thing with AI is it depends on input. It's all about the input. And there's a saying, garbage in, garbage out, and that's what you get. You put something in, AI will spit something out. But if what you put in is crap, what you're going to get back is crap. That's just how it works. And a lot of the tools that we use for that use AI to help us do things more quickly, it gives you all this, it spits out all this data. But if you don't know how to analyze that data, if you don't know what it's telling you, you will come to some very wrong conclusions. And I think that's important to know. And I just want to touch on that, but we're coming up on what?
Can I add to that, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, AI chatbots have now been around for a couple of years, right? They've definitely exploded this past 12 months. We were pretty early adopters of it. We were testing it on our websites early on, and then we started to talk about it with clients, and we put it on one of our clients' websites, and we trained it. And one of the coolest things is that really good AI chatbots can actually scrape your whole website and then determine how to answer questions. One of the unforeseen circumstances of that is sometimes you do, blog posts, long tail blog posts on a specific topic that your business actually isn't an expert in. You're talking about it at a high level about something specifically, but you might be sharing some information that isn't really relevant to the service you provide. It's hard to think what I'm talking about, except all I would say is, when we were training that chatbot, some of the answers it was giving us were like, where the heck is it pulling this out of? Because it doesn't make any sense. And then we were able to determine, it scraped this competitive analysis blog post that was actually talking about competitors of this client in this particular area. And it was actually promoting those people as the chatbot. And we're like, that's dumb. Like, why would we possibly promote competitors competitor because that data existed in an old blog post that existed on their website.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to be super careful about training your bot.
Yeah, it can go off the rails fast.
Yeah, it's all about the source of truth. You need to specify what that source of truth is, because if you let it just run wild, it's going to find incorrect data. I mean, yeah, another thought I had, Ian, is in that same scenario. If you're a home remodeling contractor and your focus is really just external siding,
Yeah.
you might write a blog post about the top 10 home improvement projects to increase the value of your home. And maybe one of those is related to a service that you provide, but you want to provide the context, because as people are thinking about it, you want to kind of when you write content, sometimes you need to be writing it to a pool of people that have an interest larger than the narrow set of solutions you have, so that you capture them and maybe draw them in, right? And so, you may only provide one or two of those services of the 10 that are listed. And so if you had that blog post on your website, it may tell people you do all of those other 8.
That's a perfect example, Ken.
So
yeah. And it's a reminder, like this whole part of this discussion is a reminder that just like you have to monitor your real staff, you have to monitor what your AI is doing in order to improve it, right? You wouldn't hire a junior person and then not monitor how they're doing their job. You have to, right? Especially if they're customer facing, you would be coaching them on like, hey, you talked about it this way. We actually don't do that. We need to talk about it this way. And
yeah. Another interesting thing, we talked about this a while back when we were talking about Google reviews and reviews in general and review responses. Bright Local did a study which actually shows that people prefer AI generated responses to reviews over what are typically written by the average business, which I thought was really interesting. But what the AI does is it takes the review that somebody wrote and it basically parrots it back, but in a complimentary way, and this is completely legal and acceptable, on a platform like Google, and it, people, when they read that, they feel like they're getting a more valuable response than just like, oh, great, thanks, we love you guys, thanks for coming in. It's like when you parrot, and you're also creating a little bit more content for that review to help you maybe boost SEO a little bit, because you're reusing maybe some key phrases that your customers wrote in their review. Like, oh, I came in and I got the key lime pie, and it was the best key lime pie I've ever had. And then the AI response is, we're so happy you loved our key lime pie. We love the fact that you come in, and we hope to see you, sometime soon, and elaborate a little bit on that. Guess what? If key lime pie is a big feature of your business, you've got a lot more content that was created just because the AI parroted it back. But people who are reading it are like, they must have damn good key lime pie.
Yeah. The only thing I would say about
key lime pie.
Come on, key lime pie is delicious.
I don't know where I came up with that, because I'm not sure I've ever even had it, but
you don't want to have it. So
I was just trying to. Well, I guess it's okay. The one thing because I too looked at that. I think we all did look at that survey, Ken. And the one thing I would say is that it was a pretty small study. Like, it wasn't massively large, and it was very early on. Like, it was the beginning of the year when AI, we're pretty early in the AI realm. So I always caution the use of data when it's a small study, but also because I also find like AI is highly repetitive. Like, if you had AI answer all of your reviews by itself, they would all practically be the same, which looks really dumb. But, so you have to have, again, it goes back to the previous comment about you have to have people monitor this stuff and improve it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're coming up on an hour here. Maybe we can just go through a few things real quick. Ken, start with you. What are some other ways small businesses can use AI?
Well, I think, with either the chatbot or the like an AI voice response, assistant, frequently asked questions, answering questions about the scope of the area that you serve, like the geographies that you go to, the types of services that you offer. Do you take insurance, or not? Like if you're a dentist or a chiropractor or whatever. Those are all fantastic things that you can train the AI to answer. And as we talked about before, it's going to do a better job. I mean, you have to monitor it, you have to train it, you're going to have to tweak it, but it's going to do a better job than 90% of the call center results that I've seen, honestly.
Yeah.
Ian, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think my final thought on AI is just like, I've seen this model played out many, many times with my clients. When I've worked with a client for a while and I become their trusted marketing partner and advisor, they come to me when a new shiny object or a particular need comes across their desk, and they're like, hey, all the solutions out there because you're keeping your ear to the ground, you're trying things all the time. What can we do to solve this problem, or what can we do to introduce a new technology? I think that's where, instead of a business owner going out and chasing the shiny objects and trying to determine which one's the right solution, like what's the right CRM system, what's the right AI chatbot, like talk to your marketing expert, your advisor in your world, especially if you have a marketing agency that you're working with and partnering with. Reach out to them, ask them like, hey, I was listening to this podcast, I heard some things that sounded really cool. Can we implement that? Or what do you think about implementing that? What are the pros and cons? What are the systems we would need to do? What are the costs? Because what's really important is that your advisor can actually tell you, here's how we could implement it, here's the cost, and here's how we can keep it becoming a burden to your team. Because again, as if you add on tools yourself, you're adding burden to your team. So I would just say find a trustworthy marketing advisor, hitch yourself to them, ask questions, get them to be involved in your business at a deeper level, and they can help guide you, which is enormously powerful for your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just add that we've talked about speed of response. It can help you with FAQs, appointment booking, which we didn't really talk about, automating Google reviews. AI can help you with a lot of things, but it has to be properly implemented and it has to be monitored. It's not set it and forget it. And sure. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Hope you found this helpful. If you did, subscribe and share it with other business owners. And Ian, take us out.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to our listeners, our viewers. I was just pulling a report today, and we've had over 32,000 downloads of our podcast over the last 3 years. So, or actually, that's only 2 years. So I didn't even pull a full report. So you guys are awesome. We greatly appreciate you letting us add value to your business and speaking into your world. If you have a particular challenge or question, reach out to us. We would love to do a podcast on that. And until next week, folks, keep calm and mark it on.